Welcome, distinguished viewers, to the Age of Steel and Fire. Here, we uncover the legendary battles where blood and fire carved eternal marks upon the story of mankind. In history, there are moments small in scale yet immense in meaning. Rorke's Drift was one such moment, a quiet mission station by the Buffalo River, suddenly transformed into the stage where human will confronted the relentless tide of war. On January 22, 1879, as the South African sun sank behind the hills and the dry grass glowed bronze, a mere 150 British soldiers stood in isolation, armed with rifles, sacks of maize, and the conviction that they must hold their ground at all costs. They knew that, beyond the horizon, thousands of Zulu warriors were advancing. First, we need to consider the battle at Rorke's Rift in its wider historical context. The Anglo-Zulu War was not simply a clash of armies, but a collision of worlds, an expanding industrial empire against a warrior kingdom forged by tradition and discipline. Just hours before Rorke's Drift, at Isandlwana, the British had suffered a devastating defeat, a shock that shattered their confidence. If Isandlwana was the alarm bell, then Rorke's Drift was the response. Could a small, scattered garrison restore honor and prove the resilience of discipline? Rorke's Drift was never meant to be a fortress. It was a mission station, a hospital, a place of healing. Yet war often forces fragile spaces into strongholds. Rough brick walls, makeshift barricades of maize sacks and wooden crates, narrow passages between the hospital and the storehouse, all became lines of defense. The men here were not elite troops. Many were engineers, orderlies, and support staff. Retreat meant chaos. Staying meant discipline, vigilance, and a quiet courage. On the other side, the Zulu did not advance as a disorganized crowd, but as a living tradition of war, the famous Horns of the Bull formation, chants echoing in rhythm, footsteps pounding like ritual thunder. With cowhide shields and short stabbing spears, they relied not only on numbers but on coordination, speed, and pride. For many Zulu warriors, battle was not just duty. It was a sacred link to ancestors, a path to glory. Their assaults came like waves, relentless and unyielding. For the British, when the defense as an art of space. Victory at Rorke's Drift would not come from sheer firepower alone, but from the art of using space. A sack of maize could be a wall. A narrow passage could become a deadly bottleneck. Every door, every corner, every improvised barricade was a lifeline. As night fell, flames and smoke blurred vision, chants and gunfire merged into a storm of sound. In that storm, the rhythm of reloading, passing ammunition, and shifting positions became the fragile thread holding the defense together. Rorke's Drift was more than a battle, it was a test of will. For the British, it was about honor after Isandlwana, about proving the worth of discipline and order. For the Zulu, it was about courage, tradition, and collective pride. Each repelled assault was not just a tactical setback, but a memory etched in blood and fire, a memory of resilience, of fallen comrades, of fear faced in the darkness. Later, people would debate the numbers, the medals, the line between heroism and propaganda. Yet even amid debate, Rorke's Drift endures as a symbol, the small defying the vast, organization against momentum, and above all, human beings confronting fear in the night. It is a battle that makes us ask, what truly defines resilience? Is it firepower, fortifications, or the vow whispered in the dark? We will stand until dawn. In the next part, we will step through the gates of Rorke's Drift, follow the soldiers stacking maize sacks into walls, watch the Zulu formations closing in, and feel the heartbeat of a battle that raged through the night, where every bullet, every step, every decision shaped the immortal story of Rorke's Drift in 1879. As the sun dipped behind the hills of Natal, darkness fell upon the small mission station known as Rorke's Drift. In the fading glow of twilight, barely 140 British soldiers tightened their grip on their rifles. They knew that, beyond the horizon, thousands of Zulu warriors were advancing, their chants and drums echoing like thunder across the plains. The first assault. Nearly 3,000 Zulu warriors appeared, closing in with their famous Horns of the Bull formation. With cowhide shields and short stabbing spears, they surged forward, confident that sheer numbers would crush the fragile garrison. But from behind maize sacks and wooden crates, the Martini Henry rifles roared. Each shot cracked through the night, cutting down ranks of attackers. Yet the waves of Zulu warriors kept coming, relentless and unyielding. Fighting in the hospital. Unable to break the outer barricades, the Zulu turned their fury toward the hospital. Doors splintered under blows, and each room became a desperate battleground. British soldiers fired, then fell back from one chamber to the next, fighting with bayonets and rifle butts to hold the line. Flames consumed the hospital roof, casting a red glow over the chaos, faces tense, sweat and blood mingling in the smoke. The battle raged through the long night. The Zulu attacked in waves, each charge like the sea pounding against rock. Exhaustion gripped the defenders, yet discipline held them firm. Ammunition was passed hand to hand, rifles fired in rhythm, every shot a heartbeat of the defense. Amid chants, gunfire, and firelight, the small garrison transformed fragile walls into an unbreakable fortress. When the first light of dawn broke, the battlefield revealed hundreds of Zulu bodies scattered around the station. After hours of futile assault, the Zulu withdrew. Rorke's drift still stood, its walls charred, its defenders weary, but unbroken. In that moment, they knew they had survived a night of relentless fury. In this clash, 139 British soldiers faced more than 3,000 Zulu warriors. The ratio was nearly 1 against 20, yet the defenders held. 17 British soldiers fell, 15 were wounded, while over 350 Zulu warriors lay dead. This was not merely a military victory, it was a symbol of resilience, of human will standing firm against overwhelming odds. Soon after, a larger British force from the central column arrived at Rorke's Drift. The arrival of reinforcements brought not only security but also validation that the desperate stand of the defenders had not been in vain. Wounds were tended, supplies replenished, and above all, morale was lifted by the knowledge that their courage had turned the tide. Thus, Rorke's Drift was more than a desperate clash in the dark. It became proof that even when outnumbered, discipline and resilience could transform a fragile mission station into an enduring fortress against the storm. Finally, the Rorke's Drift entered history as a symbol, where the few stood against the many, where order and resolve triumphed over relentless waves of fury. Though small in scale, its echoes reached far beyond South Africa, becoming an immortal story of courage and endurance.